evening, everyone. Oliver Hatchett has used his interest in journalism to get to know so much about campus. He has reported widely on the lack of diversity on campus and introduced students to very interesting people in community through his many stories. During his time at Illinois, Oliver was involved in a myriad of student organizations. There are two that he has devoted considerable time. He worked diligently as the area coordinator for cultural programs on the Illini Union Board, where he worked to promote cultural awareness through various programs. He also served on the Chancellor's Committee for Diversity. In that role, Oliver worked with members of the campus and community to develop diversity initiatives in an effort to further diversity through the University of Urbana campus. As he prepares to leave the university, Oliver has aspirations of graduate education, as well as a position at Clear Channel Communications, which houses the popular Chicago radio station 107.5 WGCI. Oliver is graduating with his Bachelor of Science in Journalism. I introduce to you the student speaker, Mr. Oliver Hatchett, Jr.
Good evening. I want to first thank God for allowing me to be here tonight. Without him, none of us would be here this evening. Chancellor Herman, distinguished guests, family, friends, and my fellow graduates, I would like to welcome you all to the 2006 Black Congratulatory Ceremony. I am so humbled to stand here before you on behalf of my classmates. I have to admit that my presence here tonight is highly unlikely, but it is one that I embrace because of what I have overcome. As we sit here on this historic night, many of you are probably wondering how we've made it this far. Tonight, we gather here on this momentous occasion to celebrate an extraordinary accomplishment, graduation from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. We are celebrating because against all odds, we have made our way. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1 of the Bible, I learned, to everything there is a season, a time for every single activity under heaven. Honestly, how many of you all have been through a season, are in the midst of a season, or are on your way into a new season? Graduates, I know we can all attest to the storms we have endured through these last 4 years, and praise God, we are now headed into a new season. The odds we have overcome can be explored by looking at 3 seasons: historical, contemporary, and future. The historical season reminds us of some of the uncanny struggles that have paved the way to where we are today. One of the most memorable instances comes from Frederick Douglass, as told through his famous narrative. Douglass was an unconventional slave in that he wanted to be educated at all costs at a time when slaves were prevented from being educated. In one exchange, Douglass recalls his master commenting, "If you teach a black how to read, there would be no keeping him. It would forever unfit him to be a slave." My fellow classmates, it is clear that the slave master understood the liberating power that it was implicit in education. As Frederick Douglass moved forward against all odds, we too have a fundamental obligation to move in the same speed, not in the fallacious speed envisioned by the Supreme Court during Brown v. Board, when they urged the nation to move with deliberate speed. No, we must move in the same manner that William Walter Smith, the first African American to graduate from Illinois, did in 1901. He was steadfast in his educational journey in the midst of a terrible storm of hostility. Both Douglass and Smith held on to an unyielding faith that guided them toward their goals. Many of the historical challenges are prevalent in the contemporary season as well. Today, our problems are in the form of things like financial aid. I'm sure many of you all are grateful that you will not have to stand in that long line at the financial aid office. Praise God. In an effort to secure funding to remain in school. We've had to deal with professors who have not had our best interest at heart, we have also had to deal with many of our fellow students suggesting that we were admitted based on affirmative action. My friends, let me be clear. When someone says you have been admitted because of affirmative action, even though you know you were admitted based on your merit, I urge you to say, I am proud because somebody died for me to be admitted through affirmative action. We have been educated on this campus in the midst of a significant decline in African American enrollment at this institution, even when the entire student population continues to grow. In 2004, for example, we could find newspaper headlines that read, minority student enrollment lowest in almost 10 years, or U of I sees significant drop in minorities. Just 2 years ago, we witnessed the largest number of freshmen ever enrolled at this university at 7,248 students, and sadly, of those freshmen, only 410 students were African American. This was a decline of almost 200 from the prior year. Some of us, however, might not be able to identify some of these struggles. I submit to you all that we are bound together by our common struggle. It is credit to our extraordinary will that we are able to stand here tonight and declare victory by claiming our degrees and the transforming power they represent. The future season will hold even more challenges that we have explored in the history and experienced in the present. This is a season that it seems easy to become comfortable because we have our degrees and everything is essentially all right. Dr. Martin Luther King once reminded us that the ultimate measure of a person is not where they stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where they stand at times of challenge and controversy. Just because we have graduated from college does not mean everything is all right. We must never forget the struggles we have endured to be here. After we leave this institution, we must pay tribute and affirm the vitality of entities such as the Bruce D. Nesbitt African American Cultural Program as a place that fosters success to all and future generations. We cannot allow our experience at Illinois to be a mere footnote in the book of life. It must be a vast chapter in what will undoubtedly end up being the magnificent story of our lives. Whether it be graduate school, professional school, the workforce, or any other endeavor, there will be odds we have to overcome in the future. In the midst of it all, we still have a fundamental obligation to uplift people. My fellow classmates, as we leave here tonight, I urge you all to continue to stand in the widening and pervasive gap of inequality that persists in society. We must adhere to the ideology that says, I will never tire, I will not falter, and I will not fail. By graduating against all odds, we have closed that gap just a bit. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.